Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video we look at the Mirrodin Pure versus new Phyrexia dual deck, and some of you might be thinking, I don't remember seeing such a product on the shelves of my local game store. Like, are you making this up? No, I'm not, because Mirrodin Pure versus new Phyrexia was a Magic the Gathering online exclusive, and it was really interesting actually. Before we get actually talking about the deck lists, it's worth talking about because this is one where Wizards put out essentially like a contest, right? Like, oh, we're going to make a MTGO exclusive dual deck, but it was a competition where like people could submit deck lists for either of the decks, or you could submit a deck list for both, however way you want to do it. And obviously there were some guidelines to the competition, like the foil face card was always going to be either Platinum Angel or Phyrexian Plaguelord, so it has to be based around those two. There was a whole bunch of other restrictions as well, like in terms of like how many rares or like uncommons, how many lands you include, that sort of thing. I don't believe it was locked to color, but obviously you would go in one way or the other, especially with new Phyrexia. It's usually going to be black and green because those are the big colors of it in Scars and Mirrodin block. And interestingly, the winner of the competition who got their deck list published was all-round lovely person Gavin Verhey, who now works at Wizards. He hosts the Good Morning Magic YouTube channel, which is, if you don't subscribe to, absolutely subscribe to it. It's a fantastic channel where he talks about design processes and card stories and mechanics, and he's just fantastic. I think Gavin's like he's one of the good ones at Wizards, So yeah, absolutely give that a look. So yeah, he won the competition, and as far as I can tell, both of the deck lists in this product were his. I couldn't find anything that said like, oh no, he only did the Mirrodin side, he only did the new Phyrexia side. As far as I know, they're both his. So this is really kind of his product overall, which makes it really interesting. Actually, and it was before he worked at Wizards as well. So that, I mean, like that almost certainly probably helped him get a position at Wizards after he won this and got a good obviously got good feedback and stuff. So yeah, really interesting little origin story for this product. So, the first one we're going to look at is the Mirrodin Pure deck, which is white and blue. So we've got the deck list here. So it's 19 creatures, 8 instants, 6 artifacts, 1 sorcery, 1 enchantment, 25 land, mana curve off to the side there. Yeah, and let's just start getting into it and look at the cards. So, like I said, the foil face rare is Platinum Angel. Which, as I say, in the Phyrexia one was the Plaguelord. So those, I think, from what I understand from the competition, those were like the two definites. Like the deck has to include this card. And yeah, like why wouldn't you include Platinum Angel? It's it's a fantastic card. It's very iconic for like Mirrodin Pure. This is the whole thing as well, like Mirrodin Pure. I'm gonna talk about the cards in a minute, but like for a while, like before New Phyrexia was revealed as the set. What there was, so we had Scars of Mirrodin, then we had Mirrodin Besieged, and then before the third set in the block was released, there was this whole kind of like I think it was like a vote or something. Obviously, it wouldn't have been decided because obviously New Phyrexia was locked in terms of like design, art, and stuff. But like, oh, it was this whole kind of like, will it be Mirrodin Pure? Will like Mirrodin beat back the Phyrexians, or will the Phyrexians take over and make it New Phyrexia? Obviously, we know how that went. But yeah, it was this thing at a time, and I think there was like this alternate art teased for like Platinum Angel or like a new version of Platinum Angel that I don't think ever got used. But yeah, it was a whole thing. It was really interesting at the time. Anyway, start talking about the cards. I don't think there's much to be said about Platinum Angel. I think we all we all know and love it, or hate it in equal amounts. So 7 mana, artifact creature angel, 4/4 flying. You can't lose the game. Your opponents can't win the game. Yeah, it's just the ultimate. Like you have to deal with this, or you literally can't win. Which is why whenever I build a deck, or used to build a deck, I would always make sure to include a Platinum Angel solution. So something that would get Platinum Angel off the board for a turn if I needed to win that turn, and that's something that's stuck with me all the way through my deck building history, I suppose. But yeah, really good, fun signature card to have for the deck. Then we got Argent Sphinx, so 2 and double blue for a 4/3 fly. It has Metalcraft, so Metalcraft is, as long as you have 3 or more artifacts, you have Metalcraft, which is not a hard condition to reach in this deck, because obviously it's full of artifacts. So you can spend a blue, and it just flickers itself, which is obviously pretty good. It can dodge removal. If it gets -1/-1 counters on it, which obviously the other deck uses, because it's Phyrexia, it can like reset those. Yeah, and it's just like a decently big flyer as well. So yeah, like Argent Sphinx. Kuldotha Forge Master. This is like a really nice rare to include, I think, very spicy. So 5 mana for 3/5. You can tap, sacrifice 3 artifacts, search your library for any artifact card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So yeah, nothing says like, oh, I'm just going to get Platinum Angel out instant speed, right? You've got a whole bunch of like cheap artifacts in here that you can sacrifice. So this is really nice. The fact you can tutor for anything, I think, is really really good. Yeah, you can say it's a bit slow, it's a bit dirty at 5 mana, and but yeah, I think it's a really nice inclusion in here. We've got a single Duplicant, so 6 mana for a 2/4. Has the imprint ability, so when it ends the battlefield, you exile a non-token creature, and then it has the power, toughness, and creature type of the imprinted card. So it kills anything, which is obviously pretty great. I mean, obviously it's 6 mana sorcery speed, so you would hope it'd be able to kill anything. But yeah, it's pretty good. Note that it doesn't like completely copy. It's not like a clone effect. It is just stealing power and toughness and creature type. So yeah, I mean, obviously at the same time it is a kill spell as well. So yeah, I like Duplicant in here. Silent Arbiter is a favourite card of mine. Yeah, I really like Exalted as a keyword, as a mechanic, so definitely this has always gone into Exalted decks I've built over the years. So 4 mana for 1/5. Only one creature can attack each combat, and only one creature can block each combat, which does a really nice job actually against the Phyrexia deck, because that's kind of going wide. Obviously got like kind of infect creatures in there, so this kind of like helps stem the tide a little bit. So yeah, really nice inclusion here. We also got a Grand Architect, 1 and double blue for 1/3. Other blue creatures you control get +1/+1, so you don't have a lot of blue creatures in the deck. Obviously, it's mostly artifact creatures, but it's got an ability where you can spend a blue to make an artifact creature blue until end turn, thus giving it +1/+1. And then you can also tap an untapped blue creature you control to add 2 to your to add 2 mana, but you can only spend that to cast artifact spells or activate abilities artifacts. Obviously, it can tap itself for that ability, but yeah, the fact that you could spend a bunch of blue mana, turn a bunch of artifact creatures into blue creatures, then tap those for mana, means that this could help you accelerate out into the bigger, more expensive stuff like pretty quickly. So yeah, again, another good choice I think in the deck. Right, then we got a single Darksteel Sentinel, 6 mana for 3/3 with Flash, Vigilance, and Indestructible, which is pretty solid. Again, this is like I always feel in these dual decks, like there's these cards always come up that like I always liked them and like always wanted to get them into decks, and I could never find space to get them into decks. Darksteel Sentinel is one of those. Obviously, it's expensive, but like it's a big 3/3 Vigilance, Indestructible, Flash creature. It's a good little combat trick. It's pretty great. The one thing that actually annoys me about the Darksteel creatures is that they can still have like -1/-1 counters put on them, which I guess is like, oh, Phyrexia can corrupt even Darksteel and stuff, but like, I just really wish it like Indestructible also meant like it can't have counters put on it or something. I don't know, maybe. I'd love to hear what you think about that. Then we got Darksteel Gargoyle, which is the one of the first of the Darksteel creatures actually, all the way back in the titular set, Darksteel. So 7 mana for 3/3 fly with Indestructible. Again, like pretty solid. Obviously expensive, but as we've discussed with Grand Architect, you've got ways of ramping. Lumen Grid Gargoyle, which is basically just an artifact version of Air Elemental. It's just a big flyer. Yep. Single Mirror Retriever. This is pretty nice. 2 mana for 1/1. When it dies, you get an artifact from your graveyard back into your hand. So that's really nice. A lot of fun little combos and synergies with this back in the day when it was released. But yeah, really, really nice inclusion here. Would have liked there to be maybe more than one, but that's maybe getting greedy. We've got a gold mirror and a silver mirror for a bit of for your mana dorks. A single Mem Knight, which I feel is maybe yeah, I really wish this had been anything else, because like Mem Knight is like okay, and there's obviously like a billion combos that exist with it, because it has obviously a lot of value. Like when this got released, like oh, it's just a 1/1 for like 0 mana and no abilities, but like the fact that it's a card and not a token gives it so much like versatility and use and like combo potential. There's not too much of that in this deck, but I mean, it's okay. It's okay. It's all right. Let's move on. We got single Steel Wall, 1 mana for a 0/4 defender. I really like Steel Wall because I'm basic. I like this kind of like just a very cheap, solid defender. I like it. And then non-artifact creatures. So we've got Ardent Recruit, 1 white mana for a 1/1. As long as you've got Metalcraft, it's a +2/+2, so a 3/3 for only 1 mana. And I say in a condition that's not super hard to meet, so it can really punch up for its mana value. Single Spire Serpent, 4 and a blue for 3/5 with Defender. As long as you have Metalcraft, it gets +2/+2 and an attack as though it didn't have Defender, which is quite nice because that's being a 5/7. Vidal Concertarch, 1 blue for a 1/1. If you've got Metalcraft, you can tap it to tap an artifact, creature, or land. So yeah, nice like puppeteer, master decoy ability. Always good. Single Trinket Mage, 2 and a blue. When it ends the battlefield, you can search your library for an artifact with mana value 1 or less, reveal it, put into hand. So you've got artifact lands in here. You obviously can get stuff like the Memnite, you can get Steel Wall. Yeah, there's actually quite a few things this can get, which is quite nice, I think. Single Glimmer Point Stag, 2 and double white for a 3/3 of Vigilance. When it ends the battlefield, you exile a permanent, and it just gets flickered in, which is again kind of like with the Ardent Sphinx. You can like reset you can reset your creatures that maybe get counters on them. It's beginning next end step, so you get like a blocker out of the way. Yeah, so again, it's nice, just like utility card. Single Dispatch, 1 white mana. It taps target creature. If you have Metalcraft, it gets exiled instead, which is like that's a really significant upgrade. I don't think Metalcraft would be a hard thing to get in this deck. So 1 white just to exile anything with no conditions attached to it is really solid, I think. Stoic Rebuttal, 1 and double blue, costs 1 less if you have Metalcraft, so then it just becomes counterspell. Yeah, it's fine. Single Thirst for Knowledge, 2 and a blue, instant speed, you draw 3 cards, and then you discard 2 cards unless you discard an artifact card, which is, again, I think this is really nice, especially at instant speed. Actually, drawing 3 and discarding 1 is really, really good for 3, I think. Steel Shaper's Gift, 1 white mana. This is really, really good as a tutor, right? So 1 white mana, and you search for any equipment. It goes into hand, so like no cost limits or anything on it. It's really, really good, I think, for like 1 mana. And then the equipment it can search up, so you can get Bone Splitter. Classic Bone Splitter, so just 1 mana, equipped creature gets +2/+0, and equip it for 1, which is just really, really solid and really efficient. Viridian Claw is 2, gives +1/+0 and first strike, again, equipped for only 1. Really like a cheap equip cost, because then you can move it around without too much fuss. And first strike actually really, really helps against all the Phyrexian creatures. Obviously, they have Infect, and sort of given away there by the flavor text. This was like kind of a good counter pick back during like Scars and Mirrodin like draft and stuff, because obviously a lot of infect creatures didn't have first strike, so this is a good way of dealing with them. We've got Neuro Stealth Suit. So this is actually kind of spicy. So 2 mana, equipped creature has Shroud, so it can't be the type of spells or abilities, and double blue, you can attach it instant speed to a creature, and it has equipped for just 1 again as well. So you can put this on Platinum Angel, and then it's a real nightmare to then like for the opponent to win the game. The Phyrexian deck does have like like stuff like Bartering Blood or Instant Blood, I think. So it does have like sacrifice effects to get around it. I would say in some way almost compensating for it, but like there needs to be an answer for it, because like you can't just have this interaction of Neurox Stealth Suit and Platinum Angel in the deck without the other deck having ways to deal with it. Otherwise, it just wins. Single Slagworm Armor, so 1 mana to give an equipped creature +0/+6, equipped for 3. This is a card I used to love back in the day, because I built a deck around Duran the Siege Tower, which at the time had the very unique ability of like your creatures do damage equal to their toughness. We get that like kind of a lot these days, or not a lot. We see it more than occasionally. But yeah, back in the day, Duran was the only one. So had a whole deck based around Duran and Slagworm Armor, because in that deck it was basically giving +6/+6 for very cheap. Right, and then we have White Sun Zenith as one of the other rares. So X and triple white. You put X 2/2 white cat creature tokens onto the battlefield, and then White Sun Zenith gets shuffled back into the library, so you can do it again. So this is a really nice twist on the beacons that were originally in Fifth Dawn. And then we had in All Be One, there was then was it the I can't even remember what these like Sunset or something, but like there was White Suns something in the All Will Be One set. I completely lost the track there. Sorry, but yeah, this is I think pretty fun. Obviously, any spell that makes a bunch of tokens at instant speed is pretty solid. So yeah, I like this. Single Condemn, so 1 white mana, you put an attacking creature on the bottom of the owner's library, and you get life equal to toughness, which is a fairly solid removal spell. Putting something on the bottom of the library basically means it's out of the game. So yeah, really like this. Purge, which is like essentially the white version of Terror. So 1 and a white, you draw an artifact creature or a black creature, and it can't be regenerated. I'm not sure if the can't be regenerated matters. I don't think anything in the Phyrexia deck has regeneration. Could be wrong. But yeah, this obviously targets about about 2/3 of things in the Phyrexia deck, so that's quite nice. And then a single Arrest, super pacifism, just can't attack or block and locks down activate abilities as well. So yeah, this is also like a good inclusion, I think. Single Test of Faith, which prevents damage and then also gives +1/+1 counters for every damage prevented, which is really solid. I think like 2 mana to save one of your creatures and then give it 3 +1/+1 counters is a pretty good play, honestly. Turn the Tide, 1 in the blue, gives your opponent's creatures -2/-0 which is alright, I think, for like 2 mana. It's essentially like a blue fog ability, isn't it? And yeah, most of the Phyrexian creatures typically have low power, especially the infect ones, in a way to sort of like balance infect by giving them lower power. So this can put them down to like 0 power or less. That can obviously like mess up combat math. You could then get some kills in. So yeah, I like Turn the Tide. And then Thunderstaff, which is kind of a card I feel like doesn't get much attention. Maybe, I don't know. But we used to like it back in the day. So 3 mana. It's one of these kind of like weird, obscure like Mirrodin artifacts that was just printed, and just like I'm not sure what like the lore of it is, but like it's kind of cool. So 3 mana, as long as it's untapped, if a creature would deal combat damage to you, you prevent 1 of that damage. So again, that helps against infect stuff. And you spend 2 and tap and basically switch into like attack mode and give all your attacking creatures +1/+0 to turn. So yeah, Thunderstaff's pretty cool, I think. And then Talisman of Progress as a mana rock gives you white or blue. We've got Ancient Den and Seat of the Synod for artifact lands. Blinkmoth Nexus is another like fun inclusion here, I think. So taps to give you colors. You spend 1 to make it into a 1/1 flying artifact creature on turn. You spend 1 and tap to give a Blinkmoth +1/+1 to turn. Which actually works on defense, because obviously you could animate this, tap it to assign it as a blocker, and then tap it to give itself the +1/+1. So it is kind of like a 2/2 blocker, I guess, whenever you need it, or a 1/1 evasive creature on the attack, I suppose. Forbidding Watchtower is quite fun as well. Another good sort of like blocker against maybe infect creatures. So it can animate and become a 1/5 soldier, which is pretty good. Again, just like block infect creatures, I suppose. Coastal Tower as a kind of basic dual land. Terramorph Expanse to search out your basics, and then 9 islands and 8 planes. So overall, I think this is like a pretty solid deck. Like it's I think using Metalcraft in a really nice way. I think it's using some really nice cards from Scars Mirrodin and the original Mirrodin. Yeah, I think it's overall pretty good. I mean, like again, it's like we've seen this in other dual decks. It's the singletons that kind of let it down, but then it's kind of create this very kind of like varied replayability kind of experience. So like every game would feel different. So yeah, obviously it would be better if it had more consistency, but for a dual deck, it has to be what it is in terms of replayability. But overall, I do think the deck is pretty good. So I hope you join me next time where I look at the new Phyrexia deck, and we'll see how it matches up against this one. But if you've got any comments or thoughts about this deck, stick something down below, and I'll give it a read like I always do. But I hope you join me next time. But until then, thanks for watching and listening, and have a great day.